Right, we are live.
Hello,
Gonna wait for
everyone.
people to pop in. How's everybody doing today? If you are joining live and you're not from the Full Contour team, pop in the chat. Let us know where you're joining from. So glad to have you guys. Chat is down on bottom in case you're not familiar with Zoom. I think everybody spent a lot of time on Zoom during COVID, so hopefully you guys are familiar. See lots of people joining.
Awesome.
Pop in the chat. Let us know where you're joining from. Cole and I are excited to be with you guys today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy days to be here. We're so excited to have you. And we are just going to give everybody 1 or 2 minutes to join, figure out technology, get situated, grab a drink, some popcorn maybe. Cole will keep us entertained, right, Cole?
Yep, I'll do that. I'll do my best. Awesome. I'm starting to see some familiar names on here. As Michelle said, feel free to chat in, tell us where you're from.
While people are joining, Cole, just wanted to kind of pick your brain. You have a ton of experience with AllonX and hybrids. So what do you think is the biggest challenge that labs face when they're trying to offer advanced aesthetic cases?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. One thing I've seen over the years is it's a very challenging design, and there's a lot of things that go into it. So finding a well-trained technician that knows and understands not only the analog side but also the digital side is very difficult. So it's something that takes years of knowledge to really understand and nail down. And there's different variables involved that are very important as far as the implant systems, your cantilever lengths, all of the different aspects that go into the design. So it's something that we saw a big need in the industry to help out our lab partners to really to help them step up their offerings and give them that as something that they can provide.
Yeah, definitely. We see a lot of people reaching out, just being like, please help.
Yeah.
We really want to offer this. We're struggling. So, and by offering these advanced aesthetic cases, like your full mouth restorations and your AllonX, how does that differentiate a lab or set them apart from other labs?
Well, I think it really opens them up, even like a basic crown and bridge lab that's really wanting to expand and offer some of the more challenging cases like an AllonX or a full arch type of design. It really gives them that a little bit of a competitive edge, and we're starting to see more and more cosmetic work coming back. So we're seeing a demand pick up quite a bit, and more labs are looking for design services just because it takes up a lot of time. And as I mentioned earlier, depending on your level of skills for your designers that are in-house, it's something that you really have to dial in and spend a lot of time to get them the training needed. So it's something that we've put a lot of effort into to get our designers up and going for this so that we can help our partners with this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the return on investment is so worth it, right? But it's a heavy lift to offer these advanced indications. But we're super excited to dive into it today. I want this to be really interactive with everyone who's joining. So if you're here, use the Q&A or use the chat, ask questions, pick Cole's brain. Really, we're going to make sure that we have time to go over all of the questions. And I'm going to send out a quick poll as we get started, just to kind of see where you guys are at and if you're currently offering AllonX. Maybe this is something that you're wanting to offer starting next year, or it's something that you're offering today, but you're just struggling with it. So just wanted to kind of get an idea of where you guys are at before we get started.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. And yeah, and one of the points that Michelle made that I kind of want to get into a little bit more detail. If this is something that maybe you've thought about offering, but you're kind of a little bit, afraid to get into, we are happy to help you guys along the way. I mean, we've done so many of these cases, and I feel as though we've got the expertise down, not only on the design side, but also helping you, find out the different things you need in order to give us those inputs based on your scans and all the information. So we're happy to help you and assist you in the process to give you this as an opportunity to offer to your customers.
Yeah, it looks like it's about, oh, it's changing. It's about 30% of people joining today aren't offering any sort of advanced indications. almost 60% are, and then about 13% are doing it, but they're struggling, which we hear lots of. And there's a lot of different reasons why labs tend to struggle with the advanced indications. And so I'm excited for you guys to hear from Cole today as he goes through um, lots of information. So get a notebook and a pencil and be ready. So Cole, why don't you go ahead and share your screen and we'll go ahead and kick things off.
Awesome. Sounds great. All right, you see my screen okay?
Yes, yep.
Perfect. So the two things we're really going to go over today is our Lucid offering and our AllonX offering. And kind of as Michelle mentioned before, these are two of our high-end offerings that we've gone into a lot of detail in for our designers and really spent a lot of time with training. All of the members of the team that design both of these indications have years and years of experience. So it's something that's been very fun to build with the team, and yeah, we're really excited to get into it today.
Awesome.
Oh, having some. There we go. All right. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Cole. So I'm the Director of Design Quality at Full Contour. I've been a dental technician for a little over 15 years. I started out as a model and die technician many years ago, and over the years I've kind of shifted more towards kind of all areas of the lab, but I've spent probably the last 8 years with a focus on digital design, mostly inside of FreeShape. And I've been with Full Contour now for almost 4 years. So part of what I do is not only work towards designing these new indications with our designers, but I also work on creating different design guide profiles and working with our team on protocols to increase our design quality.
And my name is Michelle Rosas. I'm the VP of Business Development for Full Contour. I have been with Full Contour, gosh, that's a mouthful, for about 8 years now. I have played a lot of different roles, but at the end of the day, I just help labs in digital workflows and how to grow and scale their dental lab, how to implement new indications and be successful with that. And it's just a lot of fun. You guys are out there doing some crazy things, and it's so fun to be a part of it. And Cole is really just the backbone of Full Contour. He's done an amazing job with managing design quality. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes with making sure that we're training designers and we're hearing customers' feedback and preferences and making sure that we're just another designer in your laboratory and we're here to support you guys. So super excited to be a part of this today.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah, so just in case you guys aren't familiar with Full Contour by 3Shape, we are 3Shape's design services team. We have two different design centers. One is in Costa Rica and one is in China. And we do all sorts of different design indications. So if it's crown and bridge, removables, orthodontics, whatever it might be, we want to support you. We have support in the US and in Europe. So we support lots of different languages and time zones. You can send in live chats or emails or phone calls. We're here to support you. And as I mentioned, we really want to feel like an extension of somebody in your laboratory. We're a friend, we're a colleague, we're here to help you guys be successful and provide great quality products to your dental partners. So that's a little bit about Full Contour. And as I mentioned, we have design centers. So that's going to be dental technicians who do a whole bunch of different indications. So crowns, splints, guided surgery, dentures, clear aligners, AllonX. Like basically, if it can be designed in 3Shape or exocad, we want to be able to do the design for you guys. But we have recently launched 3Shape Automate, which is AI powered design, which is just feels like back to the future, right? Like it is so cool to see AI in dentistry and where that's headed. So you can get designs in as quick as 5 minutes. And what's so awesome about 3Shape Automate is you only pay for the designs that you love. So if you upload a crown or a night guard and you're just not happy with the results, you don't have to pay for it, which is really cool. It's also infinitely scalable. So you could upload 5 crowns or 500 crowns and get them all back in 5 minutes. So when you think about scale, it's so powerful. And this can really free up your designer's time to focus on those AllonX cases or the denture cases or the cases that just take so much time and focus and dedication from your team. Or you can use the extra time to train your team on these new things, right? So think of Automate as a way to grow and scale your lab, but also free up your designer's time to work on bigger, more important things than single unit crowns. So I encourage you to check out 3Shape Automate, but we're here to serve you with both solutions. And just in case it might be a little bit confusing, Full Contour is 3Shape. So we're 3Shape Design Services, and we provide dental technicians or AI design services. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Cole to dive into what y'all are here for today, which is advanced indications.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. So I'm going to start off by going through our Lucid offering. This was something that one of my first projects when I first started with Full Contour. We wanted to create a solution for our customers where we could really nail down a little bit more details when it comes to aesthetics. So one of the things that I struggled with when I very first started is we had a lot of customers that would ask for, give us your best designer because I have this large full mouth case and I want it to be perfect. Well, I mean, we can all agree that every technician kind of has their different take and opinion on how a design should be. So that was really the reason why we launched this Lucid offering. And as I get into the details on this, you'll see kind of what we've done to accomplish, bringing excellence with this product. Just to start off, there are a couple things that we require up front. A lot of the indications that we offer are pretty straightforward. So for example, if you send us a single unit crown, and you don't really have a whole lot of details that need to go into it, then it's pretty straightforward. We have our internal defaults, or you can also set up your own defaults. But with our Lucid offering, we do require a little more information up front. The reason for that is because we want to be successful and we want to be able to provide you with a design that's going to be exactly what you're looking to achieve. And kind of as Michelle mentioned earlier, we want to be an extension to you as almost like an in-house designer for you. So that's really what we tried to capture with everything that we built around this Lucid design guide. So we do require a complete 3Shape order. It's important for us to know everything that's going to be contained in that 3Shape order. So we need to know your materials so that all those standards will be carried over. We need to know what type of manufacturing process it is. Everything that's you're basically creating in a 3Shape order and you were to do in-house, once you have that complete zip file and you either drag and drop it to our platform or you send it through the dental system button through Full Contour, all that information travels with the case. So you don't have to worry about your margin line offsets or your cement gap or certain material standards related to manufacturing process. All that will travel with the case. And that's really one of the main reasons why we do require that complete 3Shape order, because we found in the past that if we try to set up an order for you, a lot of the times that doesn't align with however you're planning to manufacture. So it's much easier to make sure everything is streamlined and goes over well. Second to that, we ask that you either provide us with the general length of centrals of what you're looking to achieve, or a wax up or a pre-op. The reason for that is this just gives us a good starting point for this particular design offering so that we can know, where our designers will start to make some measurements. They base their design off of the Golden Shimbashi ratio. So they'll use that as a guide to kind of, fit the restoration within the arch to come up with, something that's going to have a nice aesthetic look, but also function accurately. From there, once you actually submit the case to the platform, you're going to see that under the Lucid Design Guide, we have several different options related to different categories within the type of design. So it should be built out to where you start off with your 3Shape library. So you can see here, we have 6 different options on here, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to choose from one of these 6. If you have a library that you've custom made, or if you have any other 3Shape library that's not shown on here, all you'd have to do is just specify that in the instructions, and then we would use that library for the design. Everything that you see highlighted in green as I go through the different design guide is going to be the default of what our designers will use if you don't tell us what type of anatomy or contacts or whatever the case is related to that design guide code. So again, if you were to just submit a case, let's say you submitted a 6-unit anterior case, you wanted us to just take care of it, you weren't sure about what library to use, what line angles to use, all of that, we'll follow our defaults and use our best judgment. But what I really like to try to express in detail is really take the time to go through the guide, because you'll notice on here, the more time you take to really give us these details, the better outcome. So again, we have several different options for your library. Then we move into our smile styles. This is something that I really highly recommend always doing on all of your cases. We have a lot of users that, let's say they really like the DES arch form, but they're working on a female patient. So they want to have something that's a little bit more feminine related to the incisal edges and the embrasures. So in that case, you would choose that DDS arch form library, but then you would want to go with this SS5 for the incisal edge design. And what that does is our designers are going to use that library proposal, try to maintain as much of the anatomy as possible. And really the only thing they're going to be making adjustments to are those incisal edges and maybe just slightly opening up those embrasures. Or if they're working on an older patient, for example, you would want to go with something like an SS6 where we'll kind of, add a little bit more of a square incisal edge and close up those embrasures to give it a little bit more of a wear look. So you can see based on, the different codes that we have available, it really gives you the opportunity to fully customize the design and really give us these inputs. As far as the smile style is related, if there's nothing that's entered for this, then we're just going to maintain whatever the proposed library is. So if you were to say, I want the PhysioStar, then we're going to keep this as close as possible. We'll make some minor adjustments as far as, fitting to the space and making sure it's still aesthetic, but we're not going to be changing anything. We don't over smooth or try to add too much. We try to maintain as much of that proposed anatomy as possible. So then from there, we get into a couple different options. We have some line angle standards that you can change and also some surface texture. So for example, if we're wanting to, broaden those line angles and give the teeth a little bit more of a wider look, then you have the option to enter the LAB on the clickable design guide. Surface texture, same type of situation. If you're wanting to maintain the anatomy that's in that proposed library, then of course you would just go with the standard, and we're not going to over smooth or add, but you do have some options to, like I said, either narrow those line angles, broaden them, keep them as the standard. And then as far as surface texture, we can go a little bit more detail if wanted, or we can smooth those up if that's something that you would rather, that maybe your ceramist would rather come in there and adjust by themselves towards the end. We also have that available for our lingual as well. This is something that I don't see a whole lot, but depending on the market, we believe it or not, we actually do have quite a few customers that ask for a high detail lingual. So it all just depends. And again, it comes back to personal preference. And that's why we really wanted to apply as much information as possible to give our users the ability to customize. This is another thing this is more so just something that we do on a default. It's not something that you would have to select in the guide by closing the lingual embrasure. So this is something we always do, just so that we're avoiding any black triangles. So it's more of just a message to let you know this is something that we follow as a standard. So if there's anything that you want us to change on this for whatever reason, you would just need to specify that. So then we get into some details related to midline placement. By default, we're going to follow the lower midline or the incisive papilla. But if you do have a pre-op that you want us to follow, or if the patient has an existing diastema that they want to maintain just to keep that characterization that they've had, you do have the option to do that. And then also, if you need to move the midline in either direction, we have a code for that where you can enter a value, and our designers will follow that for the design of the case. And then lastly, we have this necking option. So this is something that I feel is very important. Depending on how the doctor prepped the patient, we can sometimes have some varying depths in where those margins are placed. So it's not all the time where those preps are going to be perfect. So our team is very well trained to know and understand, where they need to place those necks in reference to, make that nice and symmetrical. So by default, they'll do this a little bit on their own, but if you have specific details or you don't want us to do this at all, you can just specify that by using this code, which is on the platform in a clickable format. One of the things that we noticed when I very first launched the Lucid offering I noticed we had a lot of users that were loving it. We were seeing a volume increase each month, but then we started getting questions on, well, why don't you have this for posteriors? Well, and the main reason is because the offering was intended for anteriors, but we got such a a large number of customers asking for posteriors. So we did create a few different codes that you can customize your posteriors as well. So we have just kind of some level of detail and anatomy for our posteriors, and then also our embrasure depth. So if you're still wanting to have a nice broad contact, but you want some open embrasures, you have the option to select this enhanced. If you want it to be a little bit more minimal of a space between those embrasures, you have some options as that as well. One thing to keep in mind when it comes to contacts is whatever value you have set for your default, or you order for your contacts, will always maintain that numerical value. The only thing that this is going to do is just open up the embrasure. So yeah, the difference between this CES and CEE may look like we have a different value of the contact itself, but it's really just the embrasure opening. So just something to keep in mind on that. And then lastly, this is something that I always really like to show for our Lucid offering. I took a 6-unit anterior case and had one of our Lucid designers, I basically set it up for them 4 times with 4 different outcomes of how different customers would order a Lucid case based on various different options in the design guide. So I always like to ask in my webinars or my lectures, everyone that's attending it, what's your favorite design here out of these 4? Because we've
Hop
got
into
the
the
exact
chat.
same
Let
we've
us
got the
know.
exact same scan, but we have a different outcome based on what was ordered for the case itself. And I think this is important to show just because over the years with this offering, we've noticed, kind of as I mentioned in the beginning, we had users that would just say, give us your best designer. Well, everyone has a little bit of a different opinion. So I've had multiple people tell me multiple different options for this as their favorite. So I'd just like to hear from the audience and to see, what's your favorite based on these 4. Some of you may like a little bit more facial anatomy like you see in number 4, or some of you may like a little bit more open embrasures and a feminine look, as you see in number 1. So it's just something to really.
I'm seeing some number 3s so far.
Okay, yeah.
Anyone else? Like, I personally like number 2. And Cole,
Yeah, and I mean,
sorry, just to interrupt, we're so familiar with Lucid and the term Lucid, but like, what does that mean for a lab when they order a Lucid case?
I mean, it's funny because when we first launched Lucid, we had a hard time figuring out a name for it. I mean, we started with premium, and then we started with elite, and all these different names. We were trying to think of like, how can we like differentiate this offering from our standard crown and bridge offering. And the term Lucid just came to me, and I looked up the actual definition, and it's expressed clearly or well understood. So that might not be the exact definition, but it's very close to that. And I thought it fit this really well because it really gives our users, as long as we have the information that we need, I mean, we can be very successful with the design. But I do always like to encourage, take the time to really go through the guide and fully customize your design, because at the end of the day, the last thing you want to do when you come back into the lab the next morning is to have to adjust a giant anterior case. But if you can take a little bit of extra time up front and order exactly what you want, and then you come in and you see it's pretty much perfect where you want it, that's always a great feeling. And
Lucid,
again, everyone. Go ahead,
sorry.
Michelle.
No, Lucid can be ordered on a single unit or a full mouth case or anything in between.
Yep.
So it can really be any crown case that you're wanting to do like more high definition or customization.
Yeah, and we've actually even recently added a few more different options. So for those of you that are already familiar with our design guide on our platform, in the past, Lucid we only had the codes just for Lucid, so just for the anterior. But I've recently added, just because of all the requests I'm getting, I've added some different cutback codes because, believe it or not, we actually have a lot of users that they'll send a full arch case, but they want, 6 through 11 cut back to a certain point. So I've added those codes in there to give you the ability to still use Lucid with that type of case. So,
And
yeah.
and just in case people aren't familiar with these codes that Cole keeps mentioning, I like to say it's like an order by picture menu, right? Like you go to McDonald's and there's a cheeseburger, but I want to add lettuce and tomato and whatever. And our design guide code is the same. You open a menu and it has a bunch of pictures and descriptions of what these things are. And you just simply click the ones that you want for that case. You can set certain codes as favorites. You can create groups. So if you know one doctor likes their smile design this way, you could call it Dr. Bob's smile design, right? Name it whatever you want. And then when you upload Dr. Bob's cases, you just click his preferences, right? And so you can order these cases very easy, but there's so much customization available.
Yeah, and I think over the past few months, we've brought in quite a few different enhancements to our platform to give you the ability to use it to its full extent. So, as Michelle mentioned, favorites, defaults, grouping. So it really makes it easy so that each time you send a case, you can have that already preset, or you can customize it per order. So it's really nice workflow. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move forward into our AllonX and AllonX prepped hybrid design. So feel free, you guys, if you have any questions on the Lucid offering or anything else you want to touch on, don't hesitate to just send it through chat, and then towards the end, we'll go over a Q&A. So we also are going to be covering today our AllonX prepped hybrid and our AllonX monolithic hybrid. This was another project that I did. Probably it's been about a year and a half now, and I handpicked a small group of our designers that knew and understood, details related to implant restorations, and we built this together. So I'm very, very proud of our team and our designers that helped me build this. It's been really, really fun offering to go over. So I'm going to start off with our standard monolithic design. Again, similar to Lucid, we do need a complete 3-shape order. And as most of you know that have done any type of implant restoration or hybrids, AllonX in the past, it is extremely important to make sure that your implant kit and system and all that information is accurate, because the last thing you want to do is set something up wrong in your order, and then you have this beautiful design that gets milled, centered, and it doesn't fit. So it's just something that I really, if you're struggling with order setup, make sure that you get the help you need. Reach out to your resellers. We can also help in certain aspects of that too. So if it's something that you're unsure of, just let us know, and we'll be happy to help. Number 2, gingiva type selection. So there's a couple different ways an order can be set up for a 3-shape. Most of the monolithic cases we receive, we actually have a just full gingiva where we don't do a whole lot of cutback, but we do have the option to, if you're planning to stack some type of material like Rhodia or something on that, we can cut that back for you. But just make sure when you create the order, you can see over here on the left, depending on what type of gingiva option you choose, you make that selection accordingly. And number 3, length of centrals or pre-op scan. I would say probably 80% of the cases we receive for AllonX come with either a pre-op scan or diagnostic, or something that at least gives us a reference point so we know what to start from. So again, as long as we have something of that nature, we can move forward with the case. And then number 4, material used for final restoration. This is more of kind of optional, because this obviously will travel with the case, but I like to put it on here just in case, so that our designers, when they do the evaluation process of each AllonX order, it's important for them to, if they can't see, a lot of the times the 3-shape material will be named something from the lab, like the lab will name it their own zirconia. But our designer doesn't necessarily know what that material is, but it's important for us to know if it's going to be zirconia or PMMA or whatever the case is, just so that we can evaluate it properly. So when we talk about hybrids, there's so many different variables involved. This was something it's always been one of my favorite types of designs. I love it because of the challenge and because of what you get at the end, and it's a very rewarding thing to see an amazing hybrid design at the end, and they just look cool. I just have to say, so. But there's so many different variables involved. Like we have issues with ridge lapping, tissue concavities, implant location, your screw access holes, your cantilever lengths, your bites, your tissue pressure, your vertical clearance, your AP spread. So all of these things here are very, very important, and there's so many more aspects that come into it. So when we first launched this, it was very important for my team to know and understand the importance of all this information. And the reason for that is because each case we receive, before we even start the design, we take it through a very in-depth process where we evaluate all these things, measure the AP spread, make sure that the order matches with what we have available as far as our cantilever lengths. We really focus in on a lot of the details related to, if we have concerns on the screw access holes coming out of the facial, well, maybe that's something that we should communicate with the customer prior to actually going with the design. Because again, the last thing we want to do is spend a lot of time on a design and we have a screw access hole coming out of, number 8 or 9, and then it's not going to be a good outcome. So just some of the things that we've really honed in on with our team to make sure that they're very well aware of these processes and they evaluate prior to designing the case. If for some reason we have a concern where we have a cantilever length that's extending, 3 units past the furthest posterior implant, then of course, that's something that we would place on hold and get in touch with you to notify, let's at least either take off one of the posterior units or rediscuss how we want to approach this case. So I wanted to show, again, somewhat similar to the Lucid case, how we have two orders here, exact same patient, but 2 different outcomes. You can see the case on the right, we did a gingival cutback so that the finisher will have the ability to stack on that and kind of add their own characterization. And it also has a little bit more of a feminine look with the rounded incisal edges. And then you can see the one on the left, we have a little more detail and texture in the surface texture on the facial. So again, guys, it just goes back to, we're really giving you the ability to tell us exactly how you want these designs to come back. When it comes to function and occlusion and excursive movements, obviously we take care of all of that. But when it comes to the aesthetic part of it, just take the time to really go through the guide and give us exactly what you want. Based on these 2 cases, this is kind of a design guide selection order of typically what you would see on these. So you can see we've got about 11 different codes here for each case with various different things selected. So if you look at case 1, we have the masculine incisal edge design versus the SS4 for case 2 for the youthful. And you can kind of see the difference between the 2 just by, looking at what we have here in these examples. So this is, as you scroll through the design guide on our platform, these are the type of things that you would see as far as the design guide code, and you would make that selection prior to moving forward with the case.
These examples are really just my favorite because we hear so often, well, just, have your best designer do it. And to your point, Cole, it's like, we could give that same case with all these different codes to the same designer and get so many different outcomes. And so really we
Exactly.
rely on you, the lab, to really be the experts in what your doctors are looking for and give us those inputs. And with the correct inputs, it turns out beautifully.
Yeah, and even if it's something you're not sure of, and you do want us to take the wheel and do our best and put our best designer on, we can absolutely do that. But I do always like to encourage you to take the time to at least, choose some of the codes, something that you're familiar with, and we can always help with the code selections as well. This is another example of something we can do and provide with the case. So for example, if you have a provisional try-in that the patient that's validated for the bite and phonetics and things like that, if you include that image with the case, we can take the design and align it into this real view image to give you kind of a reference of what this could look like for the patient. So this was a case that we did for Jack Morano at Absolute. And this is something we typically do for all of their cases whenever we receive one of these images, just to give the patient that kind of, reference point that gives them an understanding of what it could look like. We also do have a 3D virtual smile design offering. This is separate from our Lucid and AllonX, but if it's something that you wanted us to do, we can provide this as well. And this is more so for some of you that are probably familiar with this. It's just a 2D overlay. But what we can do is, if you look at the right, we can take digital diagnostic and kind of have those the units that we've designed and somewhat ghost them a little bit, and we use that as a reference to design the actual smile design. So we can get it pretty close to at least give the patient a close idea of what they could have as an outcome. But it is important to know that this is just a 2D demonstration. So it all depends on how the teeth are going to be actually prepped. So this is something that's an add-on if you're interested in it. I'm going to touch a little bit on our AllonX Prepped as well. This has been something that's been really fun that we've launched in the past. We probably launched this about 6 months after our monolithic design, and we're seeing a lot of growth with it. A lot more so in the European markets, but it's been a great thing that we've been working with. So we have a couple different options here. You'll submit the case, and we will design. Basically, you set it up just the exact same way as a monolithic AllonX hybrid. So if it's over tie bases, then you would just select them as crowns with gingiva. And then if it's an implant kit and system, you would want to make sure that's set up as screw retained crowns with your implant kit and your system selected for that. Then one thing you'll notice here is we actually have our a library that we use for our preps for Trilor. So if you're going to be milling these out of Trilor, then just let us know when you submit this, because that's what we'll use the Trilor library for this part. So as I mentioned before, as long as it's set up as a regular monolithic crown and bridge, we have that library already in there. So we don't have to individually place preps for this. There is a couple different styles of how you can approach this, but we've mastered this technique, and it's been working really well. And we have a lot of users that go this route. So this is a two-step process. So you'll basically receive this first design back, and it's important for us to have this verified wax up so that we can know exactly where to put the prep placement, margins, things like that. And then once we send that back to you and you verify it and everything looks good, you simply just copy and append that to the original design, and then you will resubmit it as crowns for us to do the final. If this is something you want to take on yourself for the final crowns, obviously you could do the same and just set it up as most of the time I see people going with three section bridges. So they'll do a posterior bridge, anterior bridge, posterior bridge. Just, it's a lot easier to manage contacts for those of you that are the finishers. You guys would understand that. But you can do it however you want. If you wanted to design this portion of it in-house, you have the ability to do that. Or if you want to send it to us, I would highly recommend sending it the crown portion of it for Lucid Design, just because then you'll have that, expertise to give the crowns a little bit more detail as it relates to that. And then one thing that's pretty awesome that we have also is we have a doctor approval app for our AllonX design. So you simply will get a link and an access token that you can send to your doctor, and they'll be able to come on here and see basically everything that's related to the case. So your screenshot images. We also include a short video clip of a 3D preview, just to give you a good reference of that. And then they can also view the STL files in here. And then you'll notice up at the top left, we have the full contour icon, but logo. You can actually put your own logo in there, so it looks like it's coming directly from you. So it's something that's an added feature we have on there. Again, you can see we have various different screenshots that we provide for each case, and these are always provided on all cases. So not only do we have our evaluation process in here, but also different views of the design. And like I mentioned, the STL viewer. And then from here, if there's any changes that need to be made, or if it's being approved, that can simply be adjusted here. And if one thing that's important to know as well is with our AllonX, our Lucid, all of our cases, anything that needs to be redesigned is free. It's a free redesign unless we're talking about hybrids. If you have to make a major bite adjustment, of course, that's going to be different. Or if something completely changes with the implant system. But if there's something you don't like about the case, we'll take care of you. We'll make sure we redesign that for you and get it exactly how you want it. And the redesign is free. So it's an all-inclusive fee per arch. It's $199 is our rate for our retail for both of these offerings. And then for the AllonX prepped, it would be an additional $9 per unit for retail for the Lucid units. So it doesn't matter how many units it is for the AllonX monolithic. It's just a per arch fee. You obviously you get the AllonX and Lucid design team, and then all the anterior Lucid codes. And then again, as far as the number of implants, that doesn't matter. It's a flat rate of $199. And the video summary with the doctor approval app comes with that as well. All right, guys. So I think we still have a little bit more time. So we're gonna answer some questions. And yeah, please feel free to reach in. Michelle, I'm sure we probably already have a pretty good amount of questions coming in. So yeah, don't hesitate to.
Yeah, I've been answering them on the go. The webinar will be recorded. We're going to send out the recording after the fact. We'll post it on our YouTube channel. If you guys scan the QR code in the middle, you're going to get 50% off your first Lucid or AllonX order. So if you scan that, it just automatically creates the email. So all you have to do is hit send, and it'll go to our support team, and we can get you guys all set up with half off. I also wanted to give you guys a little bit of confidence in the Lucid and AllonX offering. As I mentioned, Cole is really behind the scenes, like diving deep on customer feedback and quality and training our designers. And we have some really great reporting tools. So I was just kind of peeking at our quality when it comes to Lucid design for all of October and for November. And from all the cases that we designed for Lucid, we only had a 6% redesign rate. So that means, 94% of the cases, the labs were able to come in and download them and make them the next day and not have to do any redesign, which is just so great. And even of that percentage, only 2% was marked as like they were unhappy with something. So we all know sometimes you just want to redesign, and it's not necessarily something's wrong with the design. It's just you want a small tweak here or there, and you don't have time to do it yourself. So Cole has done a great job training our designers, and also the design guide codes really guide them as to what you guys are looking for. So just some encouraging news there that you guys can be confident in the quality that we can deliver for your labs, that you're happy, your doctors are happy, and more importantly, you can launch or offer a really successful advanced aesthetic indications that provides great return on investment for you at the lab. And like I said, we just want to be an extension of you guys there and help you be the best that you can be. So if you have any questions, I realize that the chat is turned off, so sorry about that, but pop into the Q&A, which is right next to the chat down on the bottom, and type in any questions that you might have or comments, feedback, anything.
One other thing I wanted to quickly mention to Michelle's point, as far as redesigns go. So on our platform, we have a feedback feature. So any case that goes into redesign is going to populate a specific category based on whatever the redesign is. So let's say you had a case that you weren't happy with the contacts, for example. Well, when you actually put it into redesign, or when you give us feedback in general and you select that there was an issue with contacts, we actually have a tracking mechanism that all of those cases go to Power BI system where we track everything. So we know the designer that designed the case, we know how many units the case was, we can track all of that information. But more importantly, we have actually built courses for each one of those feedback reasons. So that designer would have to go into a specific feedback course related to contacts. So it's a constant way for us to kind of keep our designers up to speed on knowing and understanding the things that they need to work on to make improvements. So anytime you guys give us feedback, we highly appreciate it. So make sure you give us that as much as possible.
Yes, it doesn't go into the abyss. We look at it
Yes.
each and every day. Cole does deep dives every month. We do training. And actually, we even give rewards too. So you can give positive feedback on a case and give a thumbs up. And we do a drawing once a month for our designers. So whoever gets the most positive feedback gets a little reward. And it's just a way to encourage the designers that, yes, there's of course redesigns, but there's also customers who are really happy. And we love to give them that feedback as well. Christopher asked, what is the turnaround time from case submission to design approval? Example, single unit posterior with an 8-unit veneer case. And
So
an 8-unit, sorry, read that wrong. And an 8-unit veneer case.
so any case outside of Lucid or AllonX is going to be next day by 7. Is when so if you were to submit it right now, you would have it next morning by 7 a.m. For Lucid and AllonX, we do ask for a 24-hour turnaround time, but I would say most of the time you're going to have that case ready for you by tomorrow. And the reason why we ask for a 24-hour turnaround time is because obviously a lot of times it takes us a little bit more time to evaluate the case, because we slow down a little bit and make sure, during that evaluation process, if there's any problems, we reach out to you. But most of the time you will get that by next morning, but it is a 24-hour turnaround in general.
Perfect. Any other last minute questions? Again, thank you guys for spending your afternoon with us. We hope it was informative. Cole and myself are both here. You can reach out anytime. We're happy to if you want to pick Cole's brain or ask questions, or we can get on your computer and walk you through submitting your first case and all the design guide codes and how those work. We're here to help. Right. I don't see any other questions coming in. So thank you guys. Enjoy your
Yeah, thank you,
evening.
everyone.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.